This is the DiPietro, Canty, and Rothenberg podcast.
I'm a big star, you know.
Listen live weekday mornings from 5 to 8 a.m. on 98.7 ESPN in New York, the ESPN app, the TuneIn app, or on your smart speaker.
Hey, Alexa, play ESPN New York 98.7.
Good morning, DCR.
Got the number one pick and a Super Bowl champ with the man they can't seem to stump. Do something dumb, that's an observation. CLT make him need to run.
That's Lawrence Taylor!
I don't marry trash, DMT for short. Wonder if we best, won't you peep the score? Sports Center gonna be top stories of the morning. While you're yawning, grab your coffee, rise and shine with 98.7. This is Drive Time, we provide highlights from your favorite teams. Dave, Chris, and Rick making plenty of picks. It's Rule 76.
And a good Monday morning, March the 29th, 2021. The show, as you know, of course, is DCR with you right here on 98.7 ESPN. Very busy. I mean, a very fruitful sports weekend. Knicks with a wonderful victory. Giannis, don't care. Great Knicks win. Giants owner saying some very nice things about the future of this organization. I mean, we got baseball on Thursday. Huge trade in the NFL. There's so much to get into. And let's say good morning to Chris Canty. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing good, Dave. Good morning to you and Rico. I'm excited to get going today. We got a lot to talk about. But, Dave, I got to tell you this, man. After coming off of a beautiful Friday afternoon and a gorgeous Saturday, dealing with the weather yesterday and then waking up and it being cold again this morning, I just wish the weather would make up its mind. Either we're going to spring or we're going to stay in winter for a couple of more weeks. Figure it out, but this is getting ridiculous.
Yeah,
I'm tired of the cold weather.
The weather feels like that life has been for the last year. Just can't make up its mind. Are we going in the right direction or are we not going in the right direction? Good morning to a man always headed in the right direction, Rick DiPietro. Good morning.
Good morning, David. Good morning, Christopher. Just sitting here looking at the NBA standings. Fourth place, New York Knicks. Feels good. And I will say this, too, before we get started. LaMarcus Aldridge, you couldn't have picked Miami. You see what he's done to me now? You should be in a good mood. You should have a smile on your face. Because he may single-handedly have just ruined my bet. James Harden win the MVP.
You're not winning that bet anyway, but why do you think LaMarcus Aldridge is the piece that ruins the bet?
Because now they're a super team. Now, I mean, it's too much now. I can't fight against this. As good as James Harden has played and as good as he'll be down the stretch, it's going to... I don't like my chances now. I'm going to be honest. I ordered the jersey and everything. I don't love my chances now.
You know, I was wondering, because you've been very vocal about it. We had the pre-show call, and we started discussing James Harden, and RJ says to me, are you nervous about it now? I said, no, I'm not nervous about it. I'm truly not nervous about it. Now, maybe that will happen, but at this moment, I'm not. And you were surprisingly quiet when that was brought up, and I guess this is the reason and the rationale behind it, huh?
Yeah, I don't love my chances now. I do not love my chances.
Which is good for the kids.
Well, it's good for the kids, bad for the show. I mean, everyone wants to see that beautiful video of you naked singing "We Are the Champions." That's what people want.
Can we qualify a video by Dave Rothenberg being naked as beautiful?
You heard what he said. Listen, I'm just going off of what he said. The way he describes it, it's beautiful. Okay. That's why I think I'm so interested to see it.
Beautiful pieces of the video. There's
Dave Rothenberg nudity makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, yes. I don't blame you.
Yes, I stand by that.
I think it makes everyone uncomfortable. But not sure what that is from, but there you have it. So you're actually right now. If I said, is he going to win the MVP or not? There was a time where you believed he would. That time has now passed. You do not believe that Harden now wins the MVP.
Well, I'm going to pretend like I believe it because
okay.
I want to win the bet. But currently, in the moment, if I'm being truthful, no, I don't. I don't believe it's going to happen now. I don't know how you can at this point. I mean, you're going to get Kyrie back. It looks like it's going to be at least another week for KD. But now you're going to have, you got Harden, KD, Kyrie, Blake Griffin, and you just bring in LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, I don't like it. Do you, Chris? Do you like this? That just anytime there's a good player available, he goes to either the Lakers or the Nets now.
Yeah, it feels a little weird, Dave. It's just like it takes some of the suspense out of the NBA season because this is all building up to the Lakers facing off against the Nets in the NBA Finals, and anything that happens before that is just. Yeah, I don't know. It's just fodder. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm with you on that one. It just kind of takes away some of the intrigue about what could potentially happen and who's going to win the chip.
You know what I love the most, too, is you see this now circulating, the whole Kevin Durant Twitter post from 2010?
What did he say? No, I didn't see it.
Now everybody wants to play for the Heat and the Lakers. Let's go back to being competitive and going at these peoples.
Oh my God! How bad does that look 11 years later?
That didn't age
huh?
well.
That does not age well.
That is awful. I mean, it's never been more apparent. Like, if you're a free agent and you have the year to try to win a championship, you're going to sign on with one of these huge teams. But I don't know. There's something kind of distasteful about that in sports, isn't there?
Well, here's the thing, Dave. Guys have been ring chasing forever, but it's just guys that are past their prime. You don't see guys that are in the heart of their prime deciding, you know what, we're all going to join up together and play together and try to win a championship. Like seeing James Harden and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving come together, like we've never seen that before. Like we've never seen a team with that type of offensive firepower in NBA history. So the fact that you have guys that are willing to do that in the heart of their prime, that's the part of it that makes it a little weird for me. Like, if you're talking about guys that are at the end of it, I understand it, I get it. But when you got guys in the middle of their prime at the height of their powers, like, you would just like to see them be more competitive.
I think you get a lot of teams that just don't have no interest in being average, right? Like, they're either competing for a championship or they're in the process of
the top overall pick, right?
Yeah, or they're rebuilding. I mean, look what Oklahoma City's doing right now. I mean, Oklahoma City told Al Horford we're all set.
Stockpiling draft picks.
Chris, over the next 7 years, they have 17 first-round picks and 17 second-round picks. And they just told Al Horford, like, we're all set. You can train here, but you sit for the rest of the season, and we'll trade you afterwards.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but you can't criticize Sam Presti. You can't say he doesn't know what he's doing, though.
Well, no. I mean, listen, that's one of those teams, too, where, I mean, that's not a destination where you're going to get free agents. So, I mean, you're going to build that through the draft, and that's what they've done, and now they're in the process of trying to strip it down and rebuild it. But, I mean, when you look at the East, you really got, I mean, you got the three teams in the East, and then when you look at the West, which is obviously, I mean, as Dave would say, because his AFC is loaded, I mean, in the Western Conference.
Why can't you just talk about the West without bringing up the fact that I was right that the AFC is loaded?
Because you were right. The AFC was in fact loaded. But, I mean, they got Drummond now in L.A., and it's amazing how average the Lakers are without LeBron James. Like, it's ridiculous how average they are. But when he comes back healthy, and what happens with AD, I mean, those were the two teams that you would point to, was Brooklyn and the Lakers as the teams you'd expect to be in the finals.
That's right. That's what it's going to be. Unless the Lakers don't come back healthy, they will be in the NBA Finals. Yeah. I mean, who's the team that's going to stand in their way? The Jazz? No. Nuggets? No. Who? No one. Clippers? I don't think so. Suns? Come on. Suns could wind up with the top seed. They're not going to beat the Lakers in a 7-game series.
No, but those are the teams you're talking about. But I think, isn't that what we want to see? I mean, I know it. Listen, would you like it to be more competitive and not have every player decide when they're bought out or become a free agent, yeah, I want to go sign with Brooklyn, I want to go sign with the Lakers? In theory, yeah. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, NBA Finals, if you're going to give me Brooklyn against LeBron and the Lakers, yeah, I'll sign up for that.
Yeah, no, that will be, that'll be must-watch television. All right, so Jay Williams, as always, on a Monday, 5:30, he's going to join us this morning. And then Ian Begley at 7:30 this morning will join the show as well. Kenny Canty, 6:45. Knicks, another big game, guys. You know, it's funny. We look back, and this is why you never know. You look back weeks ago, well, they're not going to win this game in Milwaukee. You don't know who's going to play and who's not going to play. And this year is very, very strange. Randall doesn't play in that game. Giannis doesn't play in that game. But the Knicks go into Milwaukee, win that game, and like you said, fourth in the Eastern Conference right now.
Yeah, that was a huge win. I mean, to go into that game, and I don't think when you watch Randall the previous game with what he was dealing with his thigh, that you felt like they're probably going to give him the day off, and then to see what Milwaukee was throwing out there. I mean, not only did Giannis not play, I mean, you had no Middleton, you had no Holiday, you had no Tucker, you had no defense. Like, they didn't play anybody.
No.
And of course it was the other Antetokounmpo, Thanasis, that decided to have his best game ever. He scores 23. But, I mean, Alec Burks was great again. Hit a big three down the stretch. R.J. Barrett had the big steal. And, as much as they struggle with that zone defense, they found a way to pull out a close game.
Yeah, I also thought Derrick Rose coming back was big for the Knicks, too, having him come off the bench and being able to give some spark to that second unit, being able to have some punch, him and Emmanuel quickly both dropping 13. Like, I think that was huge for the Knicks. Like, we've said it all along, since he came over, him being a part of that second unit and being able to give the Knicks an advantage when you have the twos out there on the court, I think that makes a big difference in terms of giving them a little bit of an edge. And then Alec Burks was great, man. I mean, Rico, you hit it, man. I mean, the guy has been phenomenal the last couple of weeks, and you're just hoping that he can sustain this level of play down the stretch, because that'll put the Knicks in position where they don't have to worry about that play-in tournament. Like, they could actually start the postseason and be in a real series.
Yeah, it's very bunched up in the Eastern Conference, though. And a huge game. I mean, a huge game tonight at the Garden, 7 o'clock, right here on 98.7 ESPN. Miami takes a trip up north and takes on the Knicks. And this is a monster game here.
But that was the one positive, right? That LaMarcus Aldridge did end up going to Brooklyn, was he didn't go to the Heat.
Correct.
And that's one of those teams that's bunched up right there in the middle. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, this is, hopefully Randall comes back. Unfortunately, sucks for Mitchell Robinson. He just comes back from the hand, and then all of a sudden he ends up fracturing his foot.
It stinks.
Which sucks for him. But, even when he was gone, he missed the 15 games. I think the Knicks were 9-6. Taj Gibson and Nerlens Noel have been really good for the Knicks. Really good for the Knicks. So we'll see. Derrick Rose was good. He was definitely...
It's big having him back, too.
It's big having him back, but he wasn't...
It gives you more depth.
It absolutely gives you more depth, but he's still working his way back. Right? He'll continue to progress. He'll continue to get better. But, this is... The Knicks are right there, man. 2 games over 500 going up against a good Miami Heat team that was in the NBA Finals. This is a good test tonight.
Yeah, this is a great test tonight. So, we have a lot to do today, right? We obviously have a ton of NFL, and let's kind of turn our attention there. And 800-919-3776. And, Mike Tenenbaum said it on the K Show on Friday, and I think I could not agree with him more. Zach Wilson's your quarterback. Zach Wilson will be your quarterback, because if not, you would have traded out of that 2 spot. You would have traded with San Francisco and moved back and started to acquire a ton of picks, and then done maybe what Miami would have done and moved back up into the top 5 or 6 if that's what you wanted to do. But they don't want to move out of that spot. They don't want to stockpile picks. They want to take Zach Wilson, and that is very obvious to a lot of people right now.
Well, I think what you would do is you'd connect the dots, right? Why wouldn't San Francisco try to get up to 2? Well, the only reason they wouldn't...
logical play.
Well, yeah, that would make the most sense. But, you start looking at the relationships, right? The fact of the matter is, your head coach and your offensive coordinator come from San Francisco. So there's a relationship there. So I'm sure they're talking about, who they like and everything else. So if we already know you're locked in at 2 with whoever it ends up being, could be Zach. It feels like it would be Zach Wilson now at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Then why would they even attempt it if you were already dialed in on this was going to be your guy?
Yeah,
that's the only thing that would make sense. Because otherwise, you would. If you're San Francisco, if you moved all the way up to 3, why wouldn't you try to move up to 2 so you get your pick of the quarterbacks?
That's right.
Well, you would, and I think that's why everybody's connected the dots and saying that the Jets are locked in on Zach Wilson, because there's no way, if Joe Douglas is talking about him being open for business and listening to offers to all the players on his roster, if you're truly open-minded about what you're doing with the second overall pick, then you would listen to whatever trade offers teams would have to try to come up. So the fact that he's not listening, the fact that nobody's blowing up his phone, it just leads you to believe that everybody around the National Football League knows that the Jets are taking Zach Wilson. And to think about the haul that the 49ers gave up to the Dolphins in order to move up to that pick, guys, that just shows you how much of a conviction Joe Douglas has on the direction that he's leaning. I just feel like the way that Mike Tannenbaum framed it on the K Show, saying that they think that Zach Wilson is a couple of first-rounders and a third-rounder better than Sam Darnold. It's hard not to look at this scenario that way. It really is.
Yeah, this is what they're going to do. If you didn't hear it on Friday, and by the way, the K Show, big news out of that show. They move up an hour. They're going to start at 2 o'clock and take you till 6:30 every weekday now. If you didn't hear that, that's right, 2 to 6:30. Then Carlin will hop on from 6:30 till 10 o'clock. So you get an extra half hour of each of those shows. And you say, but I like Max. Well, Max goes nowhere. You'd listen to him on 1050 a.m. Here is Tenenbaum Friday on the K Show saying it is 100% that Zach Wilson to the Jets will now happen.
Clearly, to me, they have just told the world 100% they're taking Zach Wilson. Because if they were going to keep Sam Darnold, presumably San Francisco would have made the same offer to get to 2, that they went to 3. So I think we got to start with that. I think that's kind of burying the lead with the coverage so far. I think 100% for sure, we now know that Zach Wilson is a New York Jet.
So, couple things. Firstly, I think it's obvious as well. I think they are absolutely going to go with Wilson. That's 1. 2, if I were you, Rick, I would be terrified of what is happening with Miami. Absolutely terrified. And 3, it's obvious that San Francisco likes 3 quarterbacks in this draft. Lawrence, they're going to have no chance with. Wilson, probably no chance with. And there's a 3rd quarterback that San Francisco loves. Those are my takeaways from the trades on Friday.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I mean, to Chris's earlier point, I mean, isn't this what you wanted, Chris? I mean, you said when we're going back and forth, trying to decide what we thought the Jets were going to do. I said part of the assessment would be, how much they could get for that second overall pick. And if you took that, that trade package and added it to what you think Sam Darnold can be in year 4, that would help you make the decision. You said, no. If you love Zach Wilson, then you got to draft Zach Wilson. Or if you love, the potential of Sam Darnold, then there's no question. Then you trade back. So, I mean, this is the New York Jets signaling to people, I guess. Well, I mean, this is what it seems like, that they have conviction about the second overall pick. And if you're going to sit here and call in and say, I trust Joe Douglas and I trust this new coaching staff, then you're going to have to trust what they're doing here. Because that's the decision that they've made right now.
Yeah, I don't think you have any choice. But the fact that they do have the belief in Zach Wilson, I think that's really all you want as a Jets fan, like for them to have a clear direction as to where the franchise is going. And if you look at the landscape of the division, it makes all the sense in the world to reset the money at the quarterback spot. Because let's face it, the Jets are a couple of years away from being able to compete. When you look at what the Dolphins are, when you look at what the Bills are, when you look at what the Patriots are trying to do, I just feel like if you're the New York Jets, it's unrealistic to think that this team is capable of winning the AFC East in 2021. This is a multi-year rebuild. And so I think when you start talking about the economics of the National Football League, there is no more valuable commodity in the NFL than a quarterback on a rookie deal. And so you'll have the benefit of being able to start over with that and have Zach Wilson for at least the next 4 years on a rookie contract so you can build out the rest of your roster and get to a point where you can actually win some football games.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement on this. And, Rick, you said something, and I want to break and come back and get into it and get to the calls on it as well, 800-919-3776. If you believe in Joe Douglas, just get out of the way. Just say, until he gives you a reason to not believe in what he's doing, my mindset would be just buy all in, believe it's going to work, get out of the way, and be positive about what the Jets are doing right now. That is my take. I don't know if every Jets fan feels like that.
Thanks for listening to the DiPietro, Canty, and Rothenberg podcast.
You're absolutely right.
Catch the show on demand wherever and whenever you want. Just subscribe to us, rate us, and review us wherever you get your podcasts.
I like Jay Will a lot. I think you like Jay Will a lot. I think he's trying to sabotage our show.
Yeah, I'm sick and tired of it. I mean, they keep poaching Canty. I don't love it.
So, firstly, he tells us, Illinois, you got to take Illinois. They're the only one seed that's out, and all the other one seeds are just rolling along. That's last week's issue. This week, Canty's leaving the show 7 o'clock every day this week because Jay wants him on KJZ starting at 7 o'clock. What gives it to you, Jay Williams?
Wait, well, hold on a second, guys. If we're playing dice, you just got to learn how to fade me. Just fade me. I mean, if I tell you something, then take the opposite way of that advice. This way you can win your money. There's a way to look at it through a genius mindset. It's up to you to pick it out, though. That's on you guys.
All right, so even if we move past the Illinois pick, you're stealing Canty every day this week at 7 o'clock.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's really nothing I can say about that one.
Jay Will, I got nothing to do with this ambush, by the way. I just want to let you know that.
I was going to talk to Rick about the fact. I mean, Minnesota Duluth last night. I mean, the longest game, right? In like college hockey history. I mean, wasn't Rick part of one?
I was. Yeah, we were 4 overtimes. Yep. Unfortunately, we lost. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Jay. I appreciate it.
Sorry, but I guess I'm not starting off Monday on the right foot, Rick. I'm sorry. Damn it.
Yeah, you're really not. All right, let me ask you a quick one on college hoops, and then we can go around all of sports. Is Gonzaga? I mean, we've seen these teams play 3 games now. There's 8 teams left. Is it completely Gonzaga, or could you see Michigan or Baylor still winning this thing?
It better be Gonzaga, Rick. It better be Gonzaga. Like we've been talking about this narrative for the longest time about. Look, Mark Few, his teams, they always get there. They're always talented. They had one team that had Shimmick Karnowski. They had like a really great low post presence, great guards, and they couldn't get over the hump. And now this is the year that they should get over the hump. But I will say this, though. They will go undefeated. Like I picked them to win the whole thing. They will go undefeated. And we are automatically going to start doing this, guys. We throw them in the conversation with the 1976 Indiana Hoosier team that went undefeated, and that's well-deserving. They should be. Are they the best team in college basketball? Yes, they are. Are they one of the greatest teams to ever play? No, they are not. They are not. And I really look at college basketball like this is a watered-down product. And I'm not saying it's not hard to win a championship. I won one. I know how hard it is to win one. It's hard to win 6 games in a row. But, like, I just feel like when I watch them, yeah, is Jalen Suggs a pro? Yes, he'll be a top 5 pick. Okay, Corey Kispert, is he a pro? Yes, I think he'll be a top 15 pick. But I still look at the overall talent this year in college basketball, and I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know, like that team that almost went undefeated for Kentucky with Karl Anthony Towns. Like, I think that team is better than Gonzaga this year. I can go through a litany of teams that I think are better than Gonzaga this year. But I just don't want to throw them as one of the best teams to ever play just because they will be undefeated when they do win it all. Respect to them, I still want to say they're one of the best teams to ever play.
All right, so let's pencil that in. Jay thinks Gonzaga, so let's take Baylor.
Yep, there you go. Fade me. Just keep fading me.
Lose to Michigan.
All right, Jay. So I was upset this morning because I made a bet with Dave Rothenberg. So Dave has a video. Giants win the Super Bowl. Dave is naked holding his newborn baby singing "We Are the Champions." And he's got that on video. Okay? Wow. So the bet is I think that James Harden has a legitimate chance to win the MVP. He doesn't. So I said, okay.
No. The bet is not he thinks James Harden has a legitimate chance to win MVP.
Let me frame it. Dave does not. So I said, okay, here's the bet. I'll take James Harden to win the MVP. You can have everyone else. I win, video gets released. If he wins, I have to make a donation to the Chris Canty Foundation. Does the addition of LaMarcus Aldridge make it harder for me to end up winning this bet?
No. It's so funny. It's when people see the name, people automatically go, oh, he's an all-star in 2019. If you watch Spurs games over the last couple of years, you're like, okay, it's L.A. It's LaMarcus Aldridge. Like, he'll be a guy that comes off the bench and is poised once again for pick-and-pop situations. They play a faster style, which, they're going to have to use him in spurts. Look, I think the additions of LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin only help James Harden. All right, these are perfect guys that unlock pick-and-roll scenarios, and that's what James Harden is brilliant at. I don't think it diminishes his opportunity of winning. I think it increases it because L.A. is a guy that can make a jump shot off a pick and pop. The same with Blake Griffin. Like, Sean Marks is getting guys in the buyout market that fit the style in which the Nets play, which, hey, Kevin Durant, you want to be – if I'm coming off one side and I have KD and LaMarcus Aldridge setting a screen at the top of the key and I have Kyrie Irving in one corner and James Harden in the other, you can't leave those guys. Right, so they're perfect fitting guys. They're not going to give you, Blake Griffin gave you 17 points the other night, but they're not going to go up for 35, 40 points. Like, they're actually players that will enhance the way James Harden already plays, who came out the other day and said, I am the MVP. Like, I think it's absurd that Vegas has him, the odds so low for him to win MVP. Like, his usage rate is off the charts. He had another 40-plus point game, almost a 40 triple-double again. And we're going to start talking about the Nets more and more and more when Kevin Durant comes back and Kyrie comes back. Now their next game up. Like, just wait. It's going to happen.
Well, Jay, you brought up Kevin Durant. Steve Nash said yesterday that it's unlikely that KD comes back this week. At what point does the concern level over his injury get ratcheted up?
I've been concerned. I'm like, what is going on? Like, well, is it the hamstring? Is it something else we don't know? And I'm obviously close to the situation from doing the boardroom with those guys, right? Mm-hmm. So I get it. Like, and the real question comes back to me is, okay, when does KD come back? Like, how long? Like, I need to see Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden more than 7 games. I at least want to see them play 22 games together, 23 games together. Give me 15 games where you guys are getting ramped up, getting ready for the playoffs. Because the longer we keep talking about KD not coming back and me not seeing him on the floor, even with the additions of Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge, all that sounds great. I'm watching Miami make moves. 76ers are still going to be there, even though I don't think George Hill gets them over the hump. Like, they're still there. Like, the Knicks are still in this conversation. I'm not saying they're going to contend, but there are a lot of teams that are in Milwaukee still there, right? So KD coming back is everything. I'm curious just how he will come back after having a month off. Plus, that's concerning, CC, very concerning.
All right, Jay, we know you got to get ready for your show, and then you're stealing Chris from our show at 7 o'clock. So we'll talk to you and see what trouble you've gotten yourself into next Monday at 5:30. But have a great week.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to the DiPietro, Canty, and Rothenberg podcast.
I don't wake up at 4 a.m. to wear a swim shirt.
Looking for more access to the show? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at DCR on ESPN.
I said this months ago that the conversation would start James Harden deserving of the MVP. And I think how things lined up with Kevin Durant being hurt, Kyrie, again, taking some time for personal reasons, having maintenance days and everything else, the way he's played, I mean, it was starting to pick up a lot of steam. That people were starting to say, you know what, as bad as it was at the beginning with how it turned out in Houston, what he did, we don't appreciate. And again, it's people voting for this. They don't like how that whole thing happened. I mean, he was a baby, fat, quit on his team, and he got exactly what he wanted. So they're going to hold that against him. But, I mean, that narrative was starting to turn a little bit with how this was a different version of James Harden we were seeing. I just don't think now, with the addition of Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge, even though, I mean, it's not the Blake Griffin that we're used to seeing, or the LaMarcus Aldridge in his, at the all-star caliber that we've seen him at. I think the perception is there's too much talent now. You know what I'm saying? Like, as good as James Harden will be, it's like this is now
he won't
a super
have to carry
team.
this team on his back to where they're going to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
because you hear that don't you hear that conversation all the time? Like the whole go back when it was Embiid got off to an unbelievable start, right? And LeBron was having a great season, but it was Embiid at the top and LeBron right there. And then all of a sudden Anthony Davis gets hurt, and the whole conversation was, oh, now with Anthony Davis hurt, LeBron James can prove to everyone that he's the MVP.
And he did.
Exactly right. So that goes in that you have to bake that into these people making these decisions. Is they look at stuff like that. Like if your team is really good, you don't necessarily get as much of the praise as you know what I mean? Like
I know what you mean. I mean, listen, if and I think it only hurts his chances if Kyrie comes back and plays great, and Durant comes back and plays great, and Griffin does his thing, and LaMarcus Aldridge starts playing a bunch. I mean, yeah, he's great. He's a wonderful player. He's a top. I mean, you could say he's having the best season, but I think it detracts from him winning the MVP. I think that detracts, and I think the fact that the voters probably don't want to give it to him detracts.
Yeah, I think that all goes into it. Unfortunately for me, that making this bet, but I mean, again, I'm giving money to charity, so who really cares?
What's the downside for you, really?
The downside is I don't get to see the video.
Well, okay, but you weren't going to get to see the video anyway. So now at least you have a modicum of a chance to see the video, and as a loss, you give $250 to a charity? I mean, that's not exactly a loss.
No, it's not a loss, but the people lose, because you just said it. It takes years. Like, it's going to take, once this bet is over, and either I win or I lose. Let's just say I lose. Now I got to wait. The audience has to wait at least a year or two.
It's like an eclipse.
Exactly. I mean, if that's how you want to describe your naked body, yeah, it would be like an eclipse.
Like an eclipse. I mean, it could take years to just have the opportunity to see it again.
Which is unfortunate, because the way you describe, I mean, your Jungle region, I think people need to see it.
Well,
they want to see it.
Has to see it, but it really is unbelievable.
You said it's gorgeous.
It's beautiful, but I don't know that my full naked body is beautiful.
Listen,
I've never said that.
You're a great guy, right?
Okay.
Back when you got married, you were a handsome guy. But the reality is,
I think
there's got to be a little
you're implying
something
that I'm
extra.
not handsome any longer?
No, I still think you're handsome.
Okay.
But I mean, Sherry is. I mean, she's gorgeous. Beautiful. So there have to be something a little extra. And I'm leaning towards, if we saw this video, that would now all of a sudden
we'd be like, it would kind of put all the pieces in place.
Exactly right.
Take it.
So all the naysayers would be like, okay, now I get it.
Makes sense.
Now I get it.
Like that Ron Jeremy is landing women. They'd be like, okay.
Exactly right.
I got you.
But we don't know until you've told me. Like, I've heard stories about it. I just need I would like to confirm it for the people.
I understand what you're saying. Okay, very good. Let me ask you this, and let's open it up to the Jets fans as well. 800-919-3776. Do you fully believe in Joe Douglas? You personally, Rick DiPietro, do you fully believe in what Joe Douglas is doing right now?
He's given me no reason not to believe in him.
Yes.
I didn't love, his free agency. Last year free agency didn't hit a home run. I like the moves that he's made this offseason, but no. To your original question, he's done nothing to make me not believe in what he's doing.
And therein lies my point, because I've heard so much this weekend of it should be Darnold, you shouldn't take Wilson, you should have traded down, you should have stockpiled picks, planned for the future, blah, 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 blah. Here's my one point. Listen, Darnold? Is it going to be Wilson? Is it going to be Lance? Is it going to be Fields? Are you going to trade down? I don't know what the right thing. Like, for me personally, I think the right thing is to continue to roll and take the quarterback at 2, build around him, reset the money, all that stuff. But for me, the bottom line is this, Rick, and you just kind of said that you agree. I believe in Joe Douglas. I think he did well in year 1 in the draft. I think he's a smart NFL guy. He's a good talent evaluator. So until I'm shown a different reason to not believe him, I believe in what Joe Douglas is doing. So whatever he does in this draft, I'm gonna stand by it until I have reason not to.
Yeah, but here's the other thing I find interesting too. When we ask all these people, Dan Graziano, Adam Schefter, all these insiders about the trade value of Sam. I mean, they always preface their answer by saying, the team that trades for him isn't going to all of a sudden now have him as their clear-cut starting quarterback. Right? We've heard that a couple different times. They trade for him, probably end up as a backup with a chance to kind of resuscitate his career. Well, if that's the case, if all these teams look at Sam as, yeah, he's got talent, but I can't just all of a sudden make him my starting quarterback.
Now, you want to move forward with him as the face of your franchise when you have other choices right now?
When you have the second overall pick. Here's the only thing. Hear me out. Here's the only thing that concerns me a little bit.
About what, not continuing with Sam or Zach Wilson specifically?
Zach Wilson specifically.
Okay.
Second overall pick. Okay, if I were to ask Dave Rothenberg, NFL savant, give me your top 5 coaches in the NFL.
Oh, I hate when you put me on the spot like that. Well, Belichick.
Belichick, of course.
Andy Reid.
I love how Belichick said, too, Joe Judge is better than those other 2 guys you hired.
Andy Reid.
Correct.
Sean
Payton.
Sean Payton, yes.
Okay, for this exercise, would you put Kyle Shanahan in the mix?
In the mix, yes.
Okay, so that's what concerns me a little bit. Is that now all of a sudden I got Kyle Shanahan at 3, taking a quarterback, which concerns me a little bit.
But I don't understand. Why does that concern you?
Because not all of these quarterbacks are going to be really good. We assume that Trevor Lawrence is going to be really good because he's just that's what we've seen from him so far. So, I mean, between Wilson, Fields, Trey Lance, and Mac Jones, all 4 of those aren't going to be great quarterbacks.
Agreed. So are you really so neurotic that you're going to tell me because you trust Shanahan and John Lynch so much that you think they get it right at 3, which lessens the Jets' odds of getting it right at 2?
No, I don't think it lessens it, but it does make me question why they're not as hell-bent on whoever the Jets take. Like, if you're gonna mortgage that much of your future with draft picks
to not take Zach Wilson,
that concerns me a little bit. And now they're in a perfect
situation. I think it's a fair point, but would you agree that? And I had this argument with people on Saturday. They were calling saying, you don't know that there's going to be many good quarterbacks in this draft. I mean, if you get 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round, would you agree that at least 2, if not 3, are going to be really good NFL quarterbacks?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Because Trevor Lawrence seems like, everything we've heard of Trevor Lawrence. Now, we haven't seen him in the NFL, but it just feels like he's that kind of prospect that's going to have success. Jacksonville stinks, but still he's good enough to make up for how bad they've been. Now, all of a sudden, we're talking about the other 4. It usually ends up quarterback drafted into the best situation. San Francisco was perfectly set up for whoever they draft.
Yes.
So I would lean on whoever they draft is going to have success. Especially if you're going to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, where the kid can actually sit back and learn. It'd be just like what happened with Kansas City.
That's right. And it's a good team. I mean, their offensive line is really good. They sign Alex Mack. They have a good running attack, right? I mean, they have good receivers. They have a great tight end. They have a good defense. They have a good coach. So, yeah, that's a better situation than the Jets. I'd agree with that.
So that's the only thing that concerns me a little bit. So who is it that they really like? Like, to give up as much as they gave up, there's a quarterback that they really like. And I would imagine they know exactly who the Jets are going to take.
The Jets are going to take Zach Wilson.
Okay, so who is it that they like? Is it Trey Lance or Justin Fields or Mac Jones? Because whichever one they like, now I'm saying to myself, well, how come Kyle Shanahan?
Yeah, but you can't do that. See, that's just because you're a Jets fan and you've been pushed into feeling like that. You can't look at another team and say, they like this guy, they're so well run, that makes me nervous, and not just believe it. That was my point, is that until I'm shown otherwise, I'm going to believe in what Joe Douglas is doing.
I know what you're saying, And you're right, and that's how I feel because we really have no control of it. All I'm saying is we've seen the track record with Kyle Shanahan, the quarterbacks that he's worked with. Like go through the quarterbacks that he's worked with. Even when Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt, C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins can actually play.
That's right.
Matt Ryan wins an MVP.
There's this report the team should go out and make moves for Nick Mullins because he's a really good quarterback in the NFL, right?
But that's what he does. And in his system, these quarterbacks have success. I'm just hoping that Mike LaFleur takes that system and has the same kind of effect on the quarterback that they end up drafting.
Let's take a listen to Zach Wilson. Here he is from his pro day on Friday. How would you feel about getting drafted by these Jets?
Yeah, obviously a dream come true. It's great to see those guys out here. I've spent some time with them on Zoom meetings and talking back and forth a little bit, but nothing more than any other team. And so, coming up to the draft, there's so many what ifs, going in. But really, I'm just so grateful to be here, grateful for the opportunity and humbled that I'm even in this situation. So I'll be happy with whoever gives me the chance to draft.
Now, Canty's not here, so I can say it without anybody becoming uncomfortable. If he's really good, New York will fall in love with him because he's a really good-looking kid. He's a really good-looking kid.
Yeah, he's a really good-looking kid.
He's a good quarterback. Look out.
No, you're right. You're not wrong. But again, there's more than just being a good quarterback that has lots of talent to have success in New York. I think that's why there's a party that feels like Daniel Jones can have success in New York because of his mentality, because of his personality.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think his demeanor and his mentality is right. But all I'm saying, and I will stand by this, and we can line up the Jets fans at 800-919-3776. Until there's a reason for me to not believe in Joe Douglas, I will believe in Joe Douglas. This 98.7 ESPN Hoops Update brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey. Enjoy a Tullamore Dew, the only triple blended, triple distilled, and triple cask matured Irish whiskey. Remember, when it's game time, it's Tully time. Please enjoy responsibly. Well, 2 more games in the NCAA tournament tonight at 7:15, Oregon State and Houston. You know the coach of Oregon State's name? I'm surprised you haven't brought that up at any point.
Yeah, well, I didn't want. Me. I'm trying to control myself, David.
Tinkle. I'm shocked.
I went. Hey, how about this? Friday night into Saturday night, whole night, not one tinkle, entire night.
Wait, from when Friday?
So I shut it down 8:15 on Friday till the time I woke up in the morning, not one tinkle.
Really?
Not one.
Wow.
It's like my body was like, you know what, you got to
maybe because of the coach of Oregon State.
Maybe
because of Wayne Tinkle. You didn't have to do that.
Thanks for listening to the DiPietro, Canty, and Rothenberg podcast.
You're absolutely right.
Catch the show on demand wherever and whenever you want. Just subscribe to us, rate us, and review us wherever you get your podcasts.
Ian Begley. Good morning, Ian. How are you?
Fellas, what's going on?
There's a lot to get into with you. So tell me this. How close were the Knicks to make any trade at the deadline? And is Lonzo Ball still realistically someone that they could pursue and go after and acquire this offseason?
Right. So from what I heard, they were talking to New Orleans as late as the day of the deadline about a Lonzo deal. And at New Orleans, I guess the price was high. And because Chicago wanted New Orleans, they didn't land them. So I have to assume the price was really high. So the Knicks didn't want to extend themselves to get a guy that is going to be a restricted free agent. And Dave, to your point, somebody who was, privy to the talks, to the dynamic between the Knicks and the Pelicans and Lonzo, felt pretty strongly that the Knicks would be re-engaging Lonzo in the offseason. They would have interest in Lonzo in the offseason. He'll be a restricted free agent. So, they could just outbid New Orleans, or it could be another signing trade scenario. I don't think Lonzo's the only point guard on their radar this offseason, but I think they will at least reconsider or consider him again once we hit free agency this offseason.
Yeah, but Bagels, why is New Orleans so? Why are they so interested in getting rid of Lonzo Ball?
The thing that I had heard, as recently as a couple weeks back was even, coming into it, that regime wasn't that high on Lonzo. And, maybe he goes crazy the next couple months of this regular season and they change their mind. But teams who were interested in Lonzo felt leading up to the deadline that he was on the way out. And maybe it has to do with you can only pay so many guys because they have a bunch of young guys that they're going to have to commit long-term money to in the future. So maybe that is part of it. But he really was not a great shooter, not even a good shooter for a long time, even starting earlier this season. And he's starting to shoot the ball well. So that was probably part of it too. But I think maybe it's a financial thing, and it's just, they're looking to get some assets back on a player that they don't think they'll re-sign.
The Knicks pretty much stood pat. Nothing big at the trade deadline. Do you expect this offseason, and we want to ask you about this season as well moving forward, but do you expect this offseason the Knicks to be like tons of activity? Like, will this be a completely reshaped team heading into next year?
I don't get the sense that they're like there yet where they're going to strike and go crazy this summer. But I do think they'll be appropriately aggressive. I don't think it's going to be a whole new team though, because what you're looking at now is Julius Randle, who he went from a player last offseason where you felt like he was probably going to be traded to now, he's going to be a part of what you're building going forward. So they don't have to extend him this offseason because he's still under contract for next year, but he's going to be here. And I think a lot of the core parts that we're seeing right now, like the R.J. Barretts, maybe even Alec Burks comes back, I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of turnover like we've seen in years past. I think you're going to have a little more continuity. But that being said, there's no star out there this summer because all these guys have really stayed with their current teams, so the market's not great. But I think they're going to be aggressive. Maybe there's a point guard that they add, whether it's Lonzo or somebody else, and then we'll see what they do in the draft. But for them, more so than free agency, I think what you're looking at is the trade market and who may or may not become available, because they felt for a long time that they're well positioned for that big trade if and when someone becomes available, because they have the draft picks, they have the cap space, they have some young players that teams like. So I think you're looking trade more so than free agency when you're talking about big upgrades for this roster.
Bagels, can you somehow make it possible that De'Aaron Fox becomes available for us to trade for, please?
You like him, huh, Rick?
Oh, man.
Terrific.
Kentucky guy, too. You connect the dots. Bagels, how big, in your opinion, is the – and they've been fine when he was out with the hand, but how big, down the stretch here is the loss of Mitchell Robinson going to be for the Knicks?
It's tough for a couple of reasons. But one, obviously such a talented player. But two, he could get an extension this offseason, right? So part of the reason the Knicks had cooled on Andre Drummond was because they liked who they had there with Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens Noel, Taj Gibson, but also they saw this rest of the regular season, whatever playoffs they're going to be involved in, as an opportunity to evaluate Mitchell Robinson more as a starter and kind of have more to look at so they can make an informed decision on whether you extend him, whether you just pick up his option this summer. So this was it was tough timing for Mitch, for the Knicks, for everybody. But you have to like how Nerlens Noel played the last few weeks with Robinson out with the hand. So the hope is he can do that again. I'm sure they're going to sign a big man to help supplement things with one of their open roster spots. Maybe they add two. And I think that based on what Nerlens did last time when Mitch was out, you have to be optimistic that he can hold the fort down during his next absence.
SNY's basketball insider, superstar Ian Begley with us here on 98.7 ESPN. So we get these, and you remember when you worked at ESPN, these emails, and BPI, the Basketball Power Index. Rick, I don't even know if you've seen this yet. They give a percentage for every team in the Eastern Conference to be a top 6 team. So Philly's at 100%. Yeah. Boston is at 89.4%. Guess what the Knicks are right now? They're in 4th right now. Guess what their percentage is to be a top 6 team at the end of the season?
Top 6, man. I'm going to say, 40-something?
6%. 6% is the Knicks' odds, according to BPI, low. To be a top 6 team. What? I mean, I understand they have a difficult schedule. They have cleared every hurdle beautifully so far this year. At what point do we start to buy into the Knicks as a team that, listen, they're not going to win a championship, but they can be a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, I think you have to add another piece, and you have to show like a more of a sustained period of solid play to buy into like being top 6 every year. That's just my read on it. The BPI, it's funny, Dave, my last few years at ESPN, the Knicks were so bad, I never even checked it because there was no reason to think of them as being top 6. I was more so checking the lottery odds, but I think top 6, yeah, it's, Chicago got a lot better at the deadline. Miami made, Boston made moves. Miami made moves. So, maybe some of it is based on that lack of activity for the Knicks. I think best case scenario for the Knicks is getting into that, play-in tournament and securing a playoff spot that way. 6 does seem a little high. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't doubt BPI. BPI is solid. They know more than the three of us, and I think we have to go with that.
It sounds like a medical condition. Make sure you go get your BPI tested. Bagels, what have you heard? Dave's starting to get a little concerned. I'm not
at all, by the way, Ian. Not even a little bit.
I'm not saying about
What's
James
Dave
Harden.
worried about?
No, I'm not asking him that question. I'm going to ask him. Dave's starting to get a little concerned about Kevin Durant and his health and where he is moving forward. I'm not there yet. What have you heard about Kevin Durant and this hamstring?
I think you have to be concerned because you haven't heard much. All you've heard is they were hoping to have him back pre-All-Star break, and then they pushed it back, and now every update seems to make it a couple more days, couple more weeks. Now, James Harden said he might be back this coming week, so I guess that's encouraging. But the idea that he's got a hamstring now, and you can't help but maybe worry that it's connected to the Achilles. They don't think it is. But I think there has to be a level of concern there. But, he came back. He has come back beautifully from that injury. And so, you can't question what you saw from him on the floor. He's been phenomenal. So I guess you have to have a level of optimism there. But there should be some concern just because of the nature of the hamstring injury, how long he's been out, the lack of information, and the idea that he's coming off this major injury. So I would be a little concerned.
All right, so let's just say, and Ian Begley with us here, 98.7 ESPN. Let's just say, for argument's sake, he comes back and he comes back healthy. Do you believe that the Nets are the best team in the NBA? Like that they will win the whole thing? Or do you still say the Lakers are right there eye to eye with them?
I'm going to still go with the Lakers, but I do think the Nets fully healthy are right there. And the reason I say that is because it's really James Harden and the way he's approached things since he's come to Brooklyn. Because, we all were wondering, how's this going to work when they trade for Harden? How do you make it work with Harden, Durant, Kyrie Irving? To James Harden's credit, he came in and he was a facilitator from day one. And he's kind of gone back and forth between facilitating and scoring when they get up to score. So he's made the necessary adjustments to make this thing work. And as has Kyrie Irving. And with Kevin Durant, we didn't think he was going to have an issue with adjustment. So because of that Harden dynamic and the way he has played, I think they're going to be humming. But if and when Durant comes back healthy, I'm sure he will. And they've added so much, Marcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, they have Nick Claxton, who's come on really strong, and they have depth. So I think they're right there. I just go with the Lakers because I'm not betting against LeBron until I see him lose, especially coming off of a year that he's won with Anthony Davis. If those guys get healthy, I think just because of the continuity and the fact that they've done it before, I would take them over the Nets at the moment.
Bagels, some would say that James Harden is playing at an MVP level.
Here we go.
How do you feel about that?
Well, and is that what Dave is worried about? Is that
No. Dave is not worried, Ian. Dave is not worried. Rick and I made a wager. I have an embarrassing video that has never been seen by anybody outside of, I think, just my wife, the only person in the whole world. And I've told him about the video. I said, I will release the video if Harden wins MVP. That's how confident I am. And if Rick loses, he has to donate money to Chris's charity. So I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. My point is he's not going to win the MVP. Just to set the record straight here, by the way.
So when did you make the declaration?
I don't know, 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, something like that.
Oh, so he was already playing really well. He was.
Listen, he's great. Okay. I'm not saying he's not deserving.
Yes. Tell him, Bagels.
You think he's going to win MVP?
I'm conflicted. I really want to see the video. Like I'm.
Forget about the video for a moment. Put it out of your head. Do you believe that James Harden wins the MVP?
Okay. No, I think the Houston thing will factor in a way that prevents him from winning it. That's just how I see it. You have to take the whole thing in totality, and I don't think he'll get that kind of recognition because of what happened with Houston and how he forced his way out. Right or wrong, I think that's ultimately how the voters will see it. So that's unfortunate for audience and fans of Rosenberg, we won't get to see that. But I think it'll play out that way.
I love Begley, by the way, Rick. I love the fact like he's this huge. I mean, Woj is like all the time. Ian Begley said this, and everyone loves Begley. He's like the first thing he says is, "Well, I want to see the video." So yeah, I hope Harden wins. I mean, you can't even put your journalistic hat on for a second, Ian.
I can't do it. I'm totally compromised right now. Dave, I love this bet, by the way. Great job.
Thank you. I mean, and the kids win. Think about that for a minute. The kids get a pizza party and a playground if, in fact, Harden doesn't win. Isn't that more important than a silly video?
No.
Listen, I'll match whatever the bet was to help the kids out. I will. I need this video.
You want in on the bet, by the way?
All I'm saying is I want the video so bad that I will replenish whatever was going to the kids. I'll do it. I mean, provided that.
So here's what I'd like now. I'd like the kids to win. If Harden wins the MVP and Rick is off the hook because now he doesn't have to give the $250 to Chris Canty's charity to help the children, you will swoop in and give the $250, and I will have to release the video if Harden wins the MVP.
I'm done. Let's do it.
Boom.
I need the video.
Boom. Ian, you're a great man. A statesman, some would say.
Let me say this. I don't think I have an MVP vote. I want to say that. So I won't be, pulling any strings.
But people.
Otherwise, you'd be like Tim Donaghy if you had an MVP
people.
Vote.
Explain to people that you know with votes what this means if Harden gets the MVP.
But you can't go on a crusade now for James Harden. Like calling up Woj. Hey, listen, AW, here's what I'm going to need from you. Can you do me a favor? Give me a solid vote for James Harden. No, you can't start doing that.
It's not in the rules. He can do exactly. Ian,
no.
Do not listen to Dave.
No,
Whatever
you're going to lose your job.
Make it happen.
Don't do it, Ian. Be a terrible thing by you.
Now, listen. This is going to be fair and square. And quite honestly, I couldn't care less about the MVP. I just need the video. So I'm going to play it straight, but I'm rooting very hard for the outcome that I think we all are rooting for as an audience of the show.
All right. Well, Ian,
wait, can I tweet the video once it's?
Yes.
Well, it's going to be out there.
Yes,
of course. Now, the one thing I will say is that as bad as it would be and embarrassing for me personally, for our show as a collective unit, of which Canty is he's working at like 62% now with his availability on the show. I would say it would be wonderful for the show and for some conversation out there. Yes.
I can only imagine.
Ian,
this could be a missed opportunity too.
It.
By the way, this could be a missed opportunity.
What?
I mean, we want to partner up with Make-A-Wish. I'm thinking we can. I mean, the K Show got what, 33,000 for them to do the Yankees game.
Yeah.
Releasing this video, I would imagine that we could get more than 33.
I would imagine as such. I would imagine as such.
Absolutely.
Ian, listen.
Yes.
I was going to say goodbye, but if you want to stay with us, you can.
No, you get me out of here. I'm just more than excited for the MVP results.
Thank God you don't have a vote. I didn't even think of that. Ian, we'll talk to you soon, man. Don't be a stranger, really. We love you.
Love you guys. Take care.
All right, that, of course, the great Ian Begley. Do you see how excited he was by this?
Yeah, I don't think we missed this opportunity. I got to be honest. I think we have to recalibrate what we're doing here.
We'll think about it off the air at another moment. DCR presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who save with Progressive save over $750 on average. Let's get back to the NFL as far as Darnold is concerned, as far as Zach Wilson, as far as what John Mara had to say to Ian O'Connor. We'll get through that in just a moment. Let's go to Kenny in the truck. Kenny, you're next up on 98.7 ESPN.
Hey, what's up, guys? How we doing? Good morning, Kenny? Guys. How we doing?
Good. How are you?
All right, let me get down to the nitty-gritty. I think Joe Douglas and the Jets, we're in a perfect position right now because Miami trading down. That means we're in the Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson sweepstakes. If you want a sure-shot quarterback, you don't go to the draft. You go what's already proven. And Deshaun Watson, at 26 years old, is well worth the wait. Now, these are the three dark nights I got us on draft night. Preferably Atlanta. We trade with Atlanta to the fourth. We won't get a ton, but if we do trade with Atlanta, we'll be able to get draft Sewell and make a play for Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson. If not, Carolina. We could do with them. Worst come to worst. Remember, I'm telling you this now. Chicago Bears. we can get them real big. Get 4 first-round draft picks and bring Khalil Mack over because we could absorb his cap hit. What do you guys think about that? Because to build the future, you need an O-line. We have so much needs. We need an O-line, and we need a quarterback for the next 10 years. And Joe Douglas can get it right with this draft.
Why can't I do both? Here's what I don't understand. Why can't I take the quarterback at 2 and then at 23 and then what I get for Darnold and then with the second pick in the second round? Why can't I build my offensive line that way?
You can, but this is the thing. We already know what Deshaun Watson is. Russell Wilson is already a champion. None of these rookie quarterbacks, God bless them, they're probably going to be great. But right now, if I'm going to sacrifice my job, I want to make sure I got the best thing available. And we're in a position because right now we hold all the marbles. And do not make a move till draft night. Somebody's going to bite. I'm telling you guys. Tell me what you think about that.
Yeah, but Kenny, if you trade your second pick to Atlanta, you're not going to. I mean, that the whole beauty of having the second pick, if you want to trade for Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson, is they have the opportunity now to pick their quarterback at 2, if they want it. Why are you going to trade down to 4 and then trade for Deshaun Watson? That wouldn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Listen, I'm a proponent. I love Deshaun Watson. I mean, I think what's happening with him off the field right now has to be a huge red flag. But as far as talent-wise on the field, I think he's great. I'm not opposed to that. I think he's a wonderful quarterback. I'd love to have him. I've said that from the whole jump of this thing.
We've all said that.
If I can get Deshaun Watson, I would make a huge play for him. I almost think you can't overpay to bring him into the mix.
No, but I mean, unforeseen circumstances now. He's dealing with this. I mean, you see teams now making decisions. Like Miami was one of the teams that we thought would be interested in Deshaun Watson, and they end up trading back and then trading back up to 6. That's a huge question mark with what his situation is. Now, does it give the? I mean, does now all of a sudden, the Jets become a team that Deshaun Watson would consider because he has no real options? Probably, but I never got the sense that was what Joe Douglas intended to do.
I don't think so. I mean, we always thought, and I think all of us on the show, believed that was the move that you should go after, but it never felt like Joe Douglas wanted to make a play for Deshaun Watson. It always felt like he wants to kind of organically build this thing.
But it never felt like Deshaun Watson wanted to be a Jet either.
No.
I'm just saying that maybe that changes now because of the situation that he's in. Like, I mean, if you don't have any options, just to get out of Houston, the Jets would be, could be one of those options. I just never thought that Joe Douglas was all like he was going to call and see what it would take to get Deshaun Watson. But I mean, for the amount he would have to give up, I think he would probably rather take the quarterback at 2 and then build the team through the draft.
Especially, I mean, listen, and we don't know, and that's the thing. It's unknown, it's unproven. But if you really believe Zach Wilson's going to be a star quarterback and you have true conviction about that, I think that makes sense. You take him. You're not mortgaging, multiple other first-round picks. You have him for cheap for a number of years. That's the best way for the Jets to be good. That to me is the best fix. Now, it's not the easiest. It's not the quickest. It's the smartest fix. If you believe that Wilson's going to be a star player, that's the way to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, Wilson's talent plus whatever you're going to get with those other picks that you'd have to give up. I mean, that's what you're weighing. We love Wilson. He's obviously not proven like Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson, but him plus whatever we have, those picks that we would have had to spend to get those other quarterbacks, we can address a bunch of different needs that will make us a better team moving forward.
Yes, exactly that. All right, once more, I want to tell you, and you're going to hear it all the day, and then at 2 o'clock you're going to actually hear it. The K Show starts 2 o'clock moving forward every day. Not 1:55, 2 o'clock today, the K Show till 6:30, and then Chris Carlin takes over here on 98.7 ESPN.
And it's nice. You'll have all 3 hosts on the show for the entire show, which is great.
Which is a treat. I mean, any show that has that as a luxury is really very fortunate. All right, let's go. Santi, 3 stars.
Today's 3 stars of DCR. Number 3.
Okay, I'm going to preface this by saying, yes, we're going to get another Dave Rothenberg sweep in here. So I'm going to start. Yes! I'm going to start small. I'm going to start slow. Dave,
dominating.
Dave, I did want to commend you for early on in the show talking about the growth that you had not watching games live, or rather DVRing them for Passover this weekend. Although I do have to subtract a little bit of points for streaming, what do you say, during the Seder?
Saturday night at my mom's house during the Seder, I was able to nuzzle my phone right up to my water glass, and we watched on our side of the table, we watched a little Villanova Baylor. Yeah, it was very well played.
I got to subtract a couple demerits for that.
Number 2.
Number 2, and steadily rising, are the chances that we get to see this video. You just heard Ian Begley. Now, I trust Ian Begley. I love his integrity. He's a great guy. I need him to do everything he can to get those MVP votes for James Harden up. I think this is going to happen, and I'm feeling good about it.
It's not going to happen. You guys are so confident.
Push starts now.
Absolutely no reason.
Push starts
Harden
right
for
now,
MVP. Tell everyone you know.
I do love the fact, by the way, that Begley said if Harden does win MVP and you don't have to donate the money, he will step up and donate the money. Now the kids are winners no matter what. I do like that.
Because Ian Begley's a good guy.
He is a good guy.
Number 1.
I'm just going to let this stand on its own.
Who is a more attractive woman, me or Michael? Be honest.
I got nothing to add. Great show, guys. Great show.
I'm telling you, there's an app out there, and it shows what this man would look like as a woman. Can you deny this, Rick? I was a gorgeous woman.
Beautiful woman. Much better looking woman than you are a man.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I was a phenomenal woman. Dawn, also a very sexy woman.
I haven't seen the Dawn one yet. I only saw you and Michael.
Dawn looked beautiful.
Finkel is Einhorn.
Was a little bit worried. All right. So we're going to put a bow on this today. KJZ coming up in just a moment. A lot of talk about the big NFL trade. Dolphins go from 3 to 12 and then up to 6. And, of course, this article on Daniel Jones of what John Mara had to say in the New York Post. So tons going on. KJZ coming your way right now. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock, and it's Rule 76.
No excuses. Play like a champion. It's DiPietro, sometimes Canty, Rothenberg, and
everybody
on 98.7 ESPN.
Thanks for listening to the DiPietro, Canty, and Rothenberg podcast.
I have nothing left.
Hear more of DiPietro, Canty, and Rothenberg live weekday mornings from 5 to 8 a.m. on 98.7 ESPN in New York, the ESPN app, the TuneIn app, or on your smart speaker.
Hey, Alexa, play ESPN New York 98.7.